Star Wars is notorious for its countless wars throughout its history. During the Old Republic era, the Sith rose to power, plunging the galaxy into an era of relentless conflict. From the conquest of Naga Sadows to the devastating Mandalorian Wars that set the stage for Darth Revan, all the way to the rise of the Eternal Empire. We'll be covering it all here in chronological order. Let's dive right in, beginning with the first grave disturbance in the Force, the Great Schism. The First Great Schism was one of the earliest recorded conflicts in galactic history, taking place around 24,500 BBY. This schism marked the first major divide between Force users, eventually leading to the creation of Dark Jedi. The war began when a faction of Jedi Knights, led by the ambitious Xendor, started experimenting with forbidden Force techniques that the Jedi Council had deemed too dangerous and destructive. Xendor and his followers believed that limiting themselves to only light side teachings severely restricted their understanding and mastery of the Force. To them, the Force was a dualistic entity that could not be fully comprehended without exploring its darker aspects. The Orthodox Jedi, seeing this departure as a grave threat not only to their teachings, but to the stability of the galaxy itself, confronted these dissenting Jedi. Xendor, along with his followers, formed the Legion of Leto, the first organized army of dark side practitioners. This marked the formal beginning of the conflict, which quickly spread across multiple systems as the two factions fought for their differing views on the true nature of the Force. The Orthodox Jedi believed that dark side was inherently corruptive, leading to madness and devastation, while Xendor's followers argued that embracing both sides of the Force would allow for greater growth and power. The conflict reached its climax during the Battle of Columbus, where Xendor himself faced off against Jedi Master Pina, known as the Green Blade for his unique skill with a green-bladed lightsaber. Despite Xendor's formidable dark side abilities, the battle ended with his death, a turning point that led to the eventual defeat of his followers. The remaining Dark Jedi were forced into exile, fleeing to the distant Outer Rim territories. Though the schism was short-lived, its effects would be felt for millennia to come, setting a dangerous precedent for future conflicts between users of the light and dark sides of the Force. It also established a pattern in galactic history, as the ideological rifts within the Jedi Order often had galaxy-spanning consequences. In the wake of the First Great Schism, tensions with the Jedi Order were never fully resolved. Though the Dark Jedi were expelled, their teachings survived in the shadows, periodically re-emerging to challenge the Jedi's strict adherence to the light side. These ideological disputes set the stage for future conflicts, the most significant of which was the 100-Year Darkness. The 100-Year Darkness began around 7000 BBY when a group of radical Jedi, led by Ajunta Pall, defied the Jedi Council's restrictions on certain Force techniques. These Dark Jedi delved into forbidden aspects of the Force, particularly focusing on dark side alchemy. Through these experiments, they developed methods to manipulate and corrupt life, creating monstrous, abominable creatures that they used as weapons. The Jedi Council, recognizing the growing danger posed by these rogue Jedi, moved to stop them. This sparked a century-long war that engulfed the galaxy in destruction. The Dark Jedi, using their alchemically enhanced warriors and monstrous creations, laid siege to multiple Republic worlds, pushing the Jedi Order to its limits. Some of the creatures created during this period were so dangerous that they continued to haunt the galaxy for thousands of years, becoming legends of terror in the Outer Rim and beyond. The war culminated in the Battle of Korbos, where the combined forces of the Jedi Order and the Republic finally managed to defeat the Dark Jedi. However, the cost was immense, with entire planets ravaged and populations decimated by the conflict. In the aftermath, the surviving Dark Jedi were exiled from Republic space. These exiles eventually discovered the remote planet of Korriban, home to the ancient Sith species. The Dark Jedi subjugated the native Sith people and established themselves as rulers, giving rise to the Sith Order. This moment marked the true birth of the Sith as an organized and formidable dark side power. The 100-Year Darkness was a watershed moment in galactic history, solidifying the division between the Jedi and the Sith. It introduced dark side alchemy as a potent force, and many of the techniques developed during this period would be passed down through generations of Sith, eventually becoming a cornerstone of their dark practices. The war also demonstrated the devastating potential of unchecked dark side experimentation and set the stage for future conflicts between the light and dark sides of the Force. The Great Hyperspace War erupted in 5000 BBY when two Republic hyperspace explorers, Gav and Jory Daragon, accidentally discovered the hidden Sith Empire on Korriban while searching for new hyperspace routes. The Sith Empire, long isolated from the Republic, had grown strong under the leadership of powerful Sith lords like Tulak Hord and Marka Ragnos. When the explorers arrived, they were captured and brought before Naga Sadows, a Sith lord with ambitions to expand Sith rule beyond their borders. Sadows, recognizing an opportunity to conquer the Republic, used the explorers to stage a daring escape, manipulating events to provoke a war with the Republic. Against the more cautious wishes of his Sith peers, Sadows launched a full-scale invasion on the Republic, catching the unprepared galaxy completely off guard. His fleet, bolstered by dark-side sorcery, made early gains, conquering several systems and spreading fear across the galaxy. Sadows' mastery of Sith sorcery allowed him to create powerful illusions, making his invasion force appear far larger than it actually was. This tactic proved effective in the early stages of the war as Republic forces struggled to mount a coordinated defense. As the war dragged on, the Republic and the Jedi began to adapt to the Sith tactics. The turning point came when Naga Sadows' deception was exposed during a crucial battle, breaking his concentration and revealing the true size of his fleet. With the illusion shattered, the Republic launched a massive counteroffensive, pushing the Sith forces back. The war culminated in Sadows' defeat, and the remnants of the Sith Empire retreated into obscurity, seemingly vanishing from galactic affairs. Although the Sith teachings endured, their once unified empire fractured. Without a central authority to bind them together, these fragmented Sith groups were torn apart by infighting, greed, and ambition. Dark-side knowledge persisted through hidden tombs, ancient holocrons, and secretive sects like the Krath and the Brotherhood of the Sith, but the once great empire had fallen silent. While the Republic and the Jedi believed they had eradicated the Sith menace, their lust for power and revenge lived on, simmering in the shadows across several worlds in the galaxy. Among those remnants, one Sith would rise above all others: Darth Vitiate. A brilliant and ruthless Sith Lord, Vitiate sought not just power, but immortality itself. On his homeworld of Nathema, he conducted a catastrophic ritual, absorbing the life force of every living being on the planet. This dark act left Nathema a lifeless, desolate void in the Force, and in return, Vitiate achieved immortality. Declaring himself Emperor of the Sith, Vitiate gathered the remnants of the Sith Empire and led them to the remote world of Dromund Kaas. There, in secret, he rebuilt the Sith Empire, biding his time and waiting for the right moment to strike back at the Republic. Though the Republic emerged victorious, the Great Hyperspace War exposed the galaxy to the lingering threat of the Sith. It also solidified the Jedi's role as the Republic's protectors, setting the stage for future conflicts between the Republic and the Sith. The Old Sith Wars, a series of interconnected conflicts spanning from 4000 to 3960 BBY, nearly destroyed the Galactic Republic. This tumultuous period began when the Great Sith War with Exar, a former Jedi Knight, embraced the dark side and began training in the ancient Sith teachings on Yavin 4. Kuns' journey to becoming Dark Lord of the Sith began with his obsession with forbidden knowledge, leading him to the tomb world of Korriban, where the spirit of Marka Ragnos anointed him as the new Dark Lord. Kun then uncovered the teachings of Naga Sadows on Yavin 4, gaining immense power and fully embracing the Sith mantle. His most significant convert was Ulic Qel-Droma, a skilled Jedi Knight who had initially sought to infiltrate the Sith, but ultimately fell under Kun's influence, helping to spread the Sith's corrupting influence across the galaxy. Together, Kun and Qel-Droma formed a powerful Sith Brotherhood, uniting various darkside practitioners, Mandalorian Crusaders, and the criminal Krath cult into a formidable force. Their singular mission: conquer the Republic worlds that have dealt the Sith so much pain and declare a new golden age of the Sith. Their war against the Republic was devastating, with many key systems falling under their control. The Sith Brotherhood's influence spread rapidly. One of the most catastrophic events of the Old Sith Wars was the destruction of the Kron Cluster, a system of stars that Kun triggered to explode with the help of an ancient superweapon of the Sith. The resulting supernova sent a massive shockwave through nearby systems, including the Jedi library world of Ossus, which was devastated by the blast. In the chaos, the Sith looted countless Jedi artifacts, sacred texts, and ancient holocrons, further consolidating their power. The loss of Ossus was a significant blow to the Jedi Order, depriving them of centuries of knowledge and forcing them to regroup. The war eventually ended with the defeat of Kun and Keldroma. After killing his brother in a duel, Keldroma was stripped of the Force by a Jedi, severing his connection to the dark side and filling him with remorse. Overcome with guilt, he turned on Exar Kun and led the Jedi to Yavin 4, Kun's home base. As the Jedi launched a massive assault, Kun attempted a dark ritual to detach his spirit from his body, but his spirit became trapped within the temples of Yavin 4. Keldroma then went on and helped the Republic dismantle the remaining Sith forces. In the aftermath of the Great Sith War, the Republic was left severely weakened, having spent a lot of resources. Now, dear expert commenters, to be real, this section is the one I had to research the most on as I didn't have a lot of prior knowledge on it. Let me know if I missed anything important, and let's move on to my favorite part in the Old Republic. The Mandalorian Wars began in 3976 BBY, when the Mandalorian clans, led by Mandalore the Ultimate, embarked on a campaign of conquest at the edge of Republic space. The Mandalorians, a warrior culture that valued strength and glory in battle, sought new challenges and deliberately provoked the Republic by attacking non-member worlds. Despite these aggressive actions, the Jedi Council refused to intervene, sensing a greater unseen threat behind the Mandalorian aggression. The Republic's reluctance to engage allowed the Mandalorians to gain a foothold, conquering several systems and building momentum for a larger invasion. The Mandalorian army, bolstered by their advanced combat techniques and brutal tactics, laid waste to entire worlds. On Serroco, the Mandalorians used nuclear weapons to obliterate the planet's cities, and the devastation of Cathar nearly wiped out the Cathar species. These atrocities demonstrated the Mandalorians' willingness to use extreme measures to achieve victory. As the Republic struggled to mount an effective defense, a faction of Jedi led by Revan and his apprentice Malak defied the Jedi Council's orders and joined the war. Revan, a brilliant military strategist, quickly turned the tide of the conflict. His leadership inspired more Jedi to join the fight, and under his command, the Republic forces began to push the Mandalorians back. Revan's use of unconventional tactics and his willingness to embrace morally ambiguous decisions made him a controversial figure within the Jedi Order, but his successes on the battlefield were undeniable. The war reached its climax in the Battle of Malachor V, a pivotal confrontation that would have far-reaching consequences. During the battle, Revan ordered the activation of the Mass Shadow Generator, a superweapon designed to create intense gravitational forces that would crush entire fleets. The generator's activation resulted in the complete destruction of both Republic and Mandalorian forces caught in its range. The surface of Malachor V was transformed into a twisted graveyard of shattered ships and debris, and the planet became a nexus of dark-side energy. Revan's victory over the Mandalorians was absolute, but the cost was staggering. Mandalore the Ultimate was defeated in single combat by Revan, ending the Mandalorian threat. In his dying breaths, Mandalore the Ultimate revealed that the war had been instigated by a mysterious figure from the unknown regions. This revelation, combined with the devastation caused by the Mass Shadow Generator, deeply haunted Revan and Malak. Their trauma, exposure to the dark side on Malachor V, and the desire to uncover the identity of this enigmatic puppet master drove them down a dark path that would ultimately lead to their fall. The Jedi Civil War erupted shortly after the Mandalorian Wars, when Revan and Malak, who had disappeared into the unknown regions following their victory, returned as Sith Lords with a massive invasion fleet. During their absence, they discovered the remnants of the ancient Sith Empire and fallen to the dark side due to the influence of the Sith Emperor Darth Vitiate, the same Sith Lord that centuries ago became immortal. Now adopting the titles of Darth Revan and Darth Malak, their return marked the beginning of one of the most devastating conflicts in galactic history. Revan and Malak's intimate knowledge of Republic and Jedi tactics made them particularly dangerous opponents. Their forces included many former Republic officers and Jedi who had served under them during the Mandalorian Wars, now turned to the dark side and serving their cause. The Sith fleet launched precision strikes against key Republic worlds, using strategies that Revan and Malak had developed during their time as Republic heroes. The war was brutal, with entire systems falling under Sith control as Revan and Malak sought to impose their dark vision on the galaxy. The tide of the war turned when a Jedi strike team, led by Bastila Shan, managed to get on board Revan's flagship to confront Revan. The Jedi were just about to engage Revan when Malak, seeing the chance to overthrow Revan, opened fire on Revan's ship, attempting to kill the Jedi strike team alongside Revan. However, the strike team survived, along with Revan, who was gravely injured and on the brink of death. He was brought back to the Jedi Council where his memory was erased and given a new identity. The Jedi hoped to use Revan's knowledge of the Sith to turn the tide of the war, though they kept his true identity a secret. With Revan gone, Malak assumed the mantle of Dark Lord of the Sith and proved to be an even more ruthless leader. Under his command, the Sith forces intensified their attacks, reducing entire worlds to ash. One of Malak's most infamous acts was the bombardment of Telos IV, which left the planet in ruins. His reign would be short-lived, however, as a newly turned Revan alongside the Republic started mounting a counteroffensive, which concluded on board the Starforge, an ancient superweapon fueled by the dark side, which Malak was using to produce seemingly limitless ships and war machines. There, Revan faced Malak in one-on-one combat, defeating him and bringing the Jedi Civil War to an end. The Jedi Civil War had far-reaching consequences for both the Jedi Order and the Republic. The conflict had decimated the Jedi, leaving them vulnerable to future threats. It also set the stage for the Dark Wars as the remnants of the Sith continued to plot in the shadows. The Dark Wars followed immediately after the Jedi Civil War, plunging the galaxy into a period of darkness and fear yet again. During this time, a triumvirate of Sith Lords, Darth Nihilus, Darth Sion, and Darth Traya, rose to power. These Sith Lords sought to reshape the galaxy according to their twisted visions of power. Nihilus was driven by his endless hunger, only wanting to consume life force, while Sion, an immortal being held together by sheer hatred, sought to impose his will through fear and pain, being a more traditional Sith. Traya, on the other hand, a former Jedi Master, sought revenge against both the Jedi and the Sith, believing that both orders had failed the galaxy, wanting them to both be destroyed. She manipulated the events transpiring from behind the scenes and set the stage for the final confrontations of the Dark Wars. The Dark Wars were characterized not by large-scale battles, but by the systematic hunting and extermination of the Jedi. Nihilus, Sion, and Traya employed shadow tactics, ambushes, and assassinations to decimate the already weakened Jedi Order. One of the most devastating attacks during this period was the destruction of the planet Qatar, home to a colony of Jedi who had gathered to discuss how to rebuild the Order. Nihilus consumed the entire planet's life force in an instant, killing all who were present and further demoralizing the survivors, leaving the Jedi Order on the brink of extinction. The Dark Wars eventually came to an end when a lone Jedi exile, Mitra Surik, who was banished by the Jedi Order due to her involvement in activating the mass shadow generator, confronted and defeated the Sith Lords one by one. Traya, who had once been the exile's mentor, revealed that she had orchestrated much of the conflict in an attempt to test Surik's resolve, believing she could either restore balance or end the Force itself. Traya hoped that Surik would abandon the flawed teachings of both the Jedi and the Sith, embracing a new philosophy that would reshape the galaxy. However, Surik rejected Traya's nihilistic vision, choosing instead to uphold the Jedi principles she had rediscovered. With the Sith defeated, the galaxy and the Jedi Order were left to rebuild once more. The redeeming factor in the defeat of the Sith Triumvirate was that the Jedi and the Republic were able to purge the known galaxy of the Sith, recapturing all planets lost during the last wars, including those from the Great Sith War. A period of peace and stability was on the horizon. The Great Galactic War erupted in 3681 BBY when the Sith Empire, which had been building its strength in secret for centuries, launched a massive surprise attack against the Republic. Led by the immortal Sith Emperor Vitiate, the Emperor had long prepared for this moment, carefully biding its time while the Republic grew complacent. Their preparations dated back to the Mandalorian Wars, when Emperor Vitiate manipulated Mandalore the Ultimate into attacking the Republic to test its strength. However, the Empire's attack was delayed for centuries due to the intervention of the Jedi Knight Revan. After discovering the Emperor's plans, Revan launched a bold mission to confront Vitiate directly, hoping to eliminate the Sith leader and prevent the war. Although Revan failed in his attempt and was captured, in his capture he continued to influence the Emperor's mind, forcing the Sith to delay their invasion for several centuries. Eventually, the day came and the Empire struck, catching the Republic completely off guard. The Sith Empire had quietly amassed a powerful military, equipped with advanced technologies and battle-hardened soldiers. Their first major victory was the recapture of Korriban, the ancient Sith homeworld. The Republic, still reeling from the sudden onslaught, scrambled to defend its territories as the Sith launched simultaneous assaults on key locations throughout the galaxy. The Sith Emperor's strategy was clear: overwhelm the Republic with swift and devastating attacks to cripple their defenses and force them into submission. The Sith Empire also made extensive use of terror tactics to weaken the morale of Republic worlds. Cities were razed, and entire populations were enslaved or massacred to demonstrate the consequences of defying the Empire. This ruthless strategy spread fear across the galaxy, causing some planets to surrender without a fight, preferring subjugation over destruction. As the Republic began to mount a defense, the Jedi Order took up arms alongside the Republic's military. Jedi Knights were deployed across the galaxy to lead Republic forces in defense of their worlds. These Jedi quickly became the primary targets of Sith assassins and dark-side warriors. The war descended into a brutal contest between the light and dark sides of the Force, with countless Jedi and Sith falling in battle. The war reached its most dramatic and decisive moment during the sacking of Coruscant in 3653 BBY. While peace talks were underway in Alderaan, the Sith Empire launched a surprise attack on the Republic capital. Led by Darth Malgus, a Sith Lord renowned for his ruthlessness and tactical brilliance, the Sith stormed the city, destroying the Jedi Temple and conquering Coruscant. The sacking of Coruscant forced the Republic to sign the Treaty of Coruscant, a humiliating peace agreement that granted the Sith control over vast territories and effectively ended the war on terms heavily favoring the Sith. However, this peace was a fragile one. While the treaty brought an end to open warfare, it did not resolve the underlying tensions between the Republic and the Sith Empire. The galaxy entered a period of Cold War. The Cold War, lasting from 3653 to 3642 BBY, was a tense period of political maneuvering and covert conflicts between the Galactic Republic and the Sith Empire. Although the Treaty of Coruscant has officially ended the Great Galactic War, the peace was little more than temporary ceasefire. Both sides knew that open conflict could reignite at any moment, and so they used the time to consolidate their gains, rebuild their forces, and engage in covert operations to undermine their enemy. The Sith Empire, having secured control of key worlds and trade routes, spent this period solidifying its dominance over its newly acquired territories. The Sith Emperor, still hidden from public view, directed the Empire's efforts to increase its military might and tighten its grip on the galaxy. The Sith ruled their domains with an iron fist, enforcing loyalty through fear and brutality. Meanwhile, the Republic struggled to rebuild. The loss of Coruscant and the damage inflicted by the war had severely weakened the Republic's infrastructure and economy. In addition to rebuilding its military, the Republic had to focus on winning back the trust of its member worlds, many of which had grown disillusioned by the war's toll. The Jedi Order, which had suffered significant losses during the war, also faced the challenge of reconstituting its ranks and preparing for the inevitable resurgence of Sith aggression. The Cold War between the Sith Empire and the Galactic Republic, though officially a ceasefire, was fraught with tension, espionage, and covert operations. This fragile peace finally broke down in 3642 BBY, reigniting into what became known as the Galactic War. It saw the Republic and the Sith Empire once again battling for control of the galaxy, as the uneasy truce gave way to full-scale warfare. Emperor Vitiate's goals, however, ran far deeper than mere conquest. His true ambition was the performance of a devastating ritual that would allow him to drain the life force of the entire galaxy, achieving immortality and godlike power in the process. Vitiate had been preparing for this apocalyptic ritual since conducting the same ritual on Nathema centuries ago. The deaths caused by the ongoing conflict would fuel a new ritual that would allow him to consume almost everything in the galaxy and become an all-powerful god. The Jedi, as well as the Sith, after learning of the Emperor's true intentions, started colluding together to stop the Emperor's ritual. They succeeded and forced him to retreat back to Dromund Kaas. The Republic, now gathering their strength, launched a daring invasion of the Sith capital, aiming to bring an end to the Emperor once and for all. During what is to be known as the Battle of Dromund Kaas, the long-standing reign of Emperor Vitiate came to a climactic end. As Republic forces assaulted the planet, the hero of Tython, a legendary Jedi Knight, led a team deep into the Dark Temple, where Vitiate had retreated. In the face of overwhelming dark-side power, the hero engaged Vitiate in a final confrontation. Despite his near-godlike abilities and millennia of preparation, the Sith Emperor was finally defeated. The hero struck down Vitiate's form, seemingly ending the threat he had posed to the galaxy for centuries. Following the Emperor's death, the Republic and Sith Empire fought on, unaware of a greater hidden threat looming on the horizon. The Eternal Empire, led by the enigmatic Emperor Valkorion, was preparing to make its move. While the galaxy's major factions exhausted their resources fighting each other, the Eternal Empire quietly gathered its strength in the unknown regions of the galaxy, poised to strike at both sides. The galaxy was caught completely off guard when the Eternal Empire of Zakuul, a previously unknown faction from the Unknown Regions, launched a massive invasion in 3635 BBY. Under the rule of Emperor Valkorion, secretly the same individual as the Sith Emperor Vitiate, the Eternal Empire quickly subjugated both the Sith Empire and the Galactic Republic. The revelation of Valkorion's dual identity as Emperor Vitiate stemmed from his desire for ultimate power and immortality, which transcended the Sith ideology he once led. Having grown disillusioned with the Sith and their constant infighting, Vitiate created the Eternal Empire as a new means to conquer and dominate the galaxy on his own terms. Now ruling as Valkorion, he sought to destroy both the Sith Empire and the Galactic Republic, seeing them as mere stepping stones in his quest to reshape the galaxy under his vision of eternal rule. The conquest was swift and decisive, as the Eternal Fleet, Valkorion's near-indestructible armada of automated warships, overwhelmed the military forces of both the Republic and Sith galactic superpowers. The Eternal Empire represented a new kind of galactic domination. Unlike the Sith, who ruled through fear and dark side oppression, or the Republic, who was built on democratic ideals, the Eternal Empire enforced order through sheer military might and technological superiority. Zakuul's forces were highly advanced, and Valkorion's leadership was a mix of cold efficiency and brutal control. Valkorion portrayed himself as a benevolent ruler who could bring stability to the galaxy. During this period, both the Sith Empire and Republic were forced to submit to Zakuul's authority. They became vassal states, paying tribute to the Eternal Empire and being stripped of much of their autonomy. Both factions were powerless against the Eternal Fleet, and many of their systems were devastated by Zakuul's relentless attacks. While the galaxy endured Valkorion's reign, internal strife simmered within the Eternal Empire. Valkorion's son, Arkan, played a central role in the regime, but harbored his own ambitions. Disillusioned with his father's rule, Arkan began to plot against him. At the same time, the Outlander, a powerful figure who'd been a key leader in the war between the Sith Empire and Galactic Republic, entered the scene. Alongside Darth Mar, the formidable leader of the Sith Empire's Dark Council, the Outlander sought to destroy Valkorion and end the threat to the Eternal Empire. In their quest to confront this growing danger, both Mar and the Outlander were captured and brought before Valkorion himself. In this fateful encounter, Valkorion demonstrated his overwhelming power by killing Darth Mar, obliterating the Sith Lord in a single decisive moment. This was the moment when Arkan seized his opportunity and betrayed his father, killing Valkorion. The Outlander was spared and taken prisoner. Valkorion's death, however, was not the end of him, as his spirit latched on to the Outlander, influencing the Outlander's thoughts and decisions. Following Valkorion's assassination by his son Arkan, the galaxy found itself under the control of an even more ruthless ruler. Arkan took the throne and led the Eternal Empire with an iron fist, seeking to continue his father's vision of galactic dominance, but without Valkorion's subtlety or restraint. His reign was characterized by increased brutality, as Arkan sought to cement his legacy and expand the Eternal Empire's control even further. During this period, resistance movements began to emerge. Dissidents from both the Republic and Sith Empire, as well as independent factions, banded together to form the Alliance, a unified coalition dedicated to overthrowing the Eternal Empire. For the first time, Jedi and Sith were fighting side by side against a greater evil. The Alliance was led by the Outlander, who had escaped her imprisonment on Zakuul. Despite the overwhelming power of the Eternal Empire, the Alliance began to strike back, engaging in guerrilla warfare and launching strategic assaults on key Zakuulan targets. Over time, the Alliance gathered strength, recruiting soldiers, Jedi, Sith, and even defectors from the Eternal Empire itself. Key victories, including the destruction of Zakuulan bases and successful sabotage of the Eternal Fleet, emboldened the rebellion. As Arkan's grip on the galaxy tightened, internal dissent also grew within the Eternal Empire. His sister, Vaylin, was a powerful Force user with even greater ambition than Arkan. Vaylin had been kept under tight control by Valkorion due to her uncontrollable power, but with her father's death, she began to seek her own path to dominance. The rebellion reached a critical point when the Alliance launched a direct assault on Arkan's throne. The Outlander, alongside the Alliance's most elite forces, confronted Arkan in a climactic battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy. After a fierce struggle, Arkan was defeated and forced into exile. With his downfall, his sister Vaylin stepped in and seized control of the Eternal Empire, intent on solidifying her rule and destroying the Alliance. Valen's reign was even more chaotic and destructive than her brother's. Unrestrained by any moral or familial bonds, she unleashed her full power, devastating entire worlds and subjugating those who opposed her. The galaxy was plunged into even greater chaos as the Alliance prepared for its final confrontation with Valen and the remnants of the Eternal Empire. In the final battle, Valen was defeated by the Outlander and the Alliance. However, the final confrontation was yet to come. The power of the Outlander was granted to him by the spirit of Valkorion influencing him. Now with both Arcan and Valen removed, the former Emperor's spirit attempted to possess the Outlander, seeking to regain control and continue his quest for galactic domination. In a climactic showdown with the Outlander's mind, Valkorion's spirit was finally destroyed, finally ending the Immortal Emperor's millennia-long reign of terror. With the death of Valen and the final destruction of Valkorion's spirit, the Eternal Empire began to collapse. The Eternal Fleet, once the unstoppable force that had subjugated the galaxy, fell into disarray without Valkorion's control. Many of the systems that had been under the thumb of Zakuul rose up in rebellion, overthrowing the local Zakuulan authorities and reclaiming their independence. The Alliance, now recognized as the key force that had defeated the Eternal Empire, helped guide the rebuilding efforts in both the Republic and Sith Empire. Though the Eternal Empire was no longer a threat, the galaxy was left in a fragile state, with both the Republic and Sith forces weakened by years of war and occupation. The galaxy began to enter one of its dark ages. The Republic slowly shrank down to little more than the core worlds, while the Sith Empire disintegrated into warlordism. Everything beyond the Mid-Rim sank into barbarism, dominated by petty tyrannies and Sith warlords. For nearly 1,000 years, peace reigned in the galaxy after the Sith Empire's disappearance. However, around 2000 BBY, the Sith re-emerged under Darth Ruin, a former Jedi Master who defected after rejecting the Jedi's teachings. Ruin's dark philosophy attracted several Jedi, sparking the Fourth Great Schism and rebuilding the Sith into a new empire. Though Ruin united the Sith for a time, his self-centered leadership led to his assassination by his own followers, but the Sith Empire continued to grow once again. Over time, the Sith began to splinter though. While Ruin had initially unified the Sith Empire, the nature of Sith philosophy, rooted in betrayal and ambition, led to infighting among the Sith Lords. Various factions within the Sith Empire vied for control, and their internal power struggles weakened their ability to mount a unified offensive against the Republic. However, despite their internal divisions, the Sith continued to pose a serious threat to the galaxy. Over the next millennium, the new Sith Wars raged, with the Sith nearly overwhelming the Republic. However, their inherent infighting weakened them, preventing a decisive victory, having them fall apart time and time again. In 1010 BBY, Shere Khan reunited the Sith under the Brotherhood of Darkness for a final time. It is during this time, around 1000 BBY, that a prominent figure known as Darth Bane would rise and change the tide of the war decisively. Bane, a Sith Lord who had grown disillusioned with the constant infighting among the Sith, recognized that the very structure of the Sith Order was flawed. He believed that the Sith's numbers and internal rivalries were what prevented them from achieving true power. The Jedi-Sith War eventually culminated in the Battle of Ruusan, a devastating confrontation where all remaining Sith under Khan's Brotherhood of Darkness were killed by a ploy set by Darth Bane. The Republic, with the support of the Jedi Order, finally managed to defeat the Sith armies on Ruusan, and the Sith were believed to have been destroyed. However, unbeknownst to the Jedi, Darth Bane and his apprentice Darth Zannah survived in secret, ensuring the survival of the Sith Order through the Rule of Two. The rule called for only 2 Sith at any given time, a Master and an Apprentice. This doctrine would prevent the power struggles that plagued the Sith for generations, and ensure that the dark side's teachings were passed on through a single, unbroken line. Bane and his apprentice Darth Zannah went into hiding, preparing for the day when they could strike back against the Jedi and the Republic. The Jedi-Sith War left the galaxy in ruins, with both the Jedi and the Republic severely weakened. Though the Republic emerged victorious, the cost of the war was immense, and the Jedi Order, once again depleted, turned its focus inward to rebuild and heal from the long years of conflict. The Sith, though seemingly defeated, would continue to bide their time, waiting for the moment when they could strike from the shadows and bring about the fall of the Jedi and the Republic, which a certain individual we're all too familiar with will be achieving in time. The era of open warfare between the Jedi and Sith has come to an end, and the galaxy is poised to enter a new age of relative peace and stability. The Republic is about to embark on a period of recovery and prosperity. This upcoming era is known as the High Republic era, a golden age of peace and growth, during which the Republic would expand its influence to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, rebuilding its strength and flourishing once again. During this time, the Jedi Order reached its zenith as the Guardians of Peace and Justice, operating not as warriors, but as diplomats, explorers, and teachers. They patrolled the Outer Rim territories, helping to expand the Republic's influence into frontier worlds and ensuring stability in distant regions. The High Republic was characterized by a strong and harmonious relationship between the Jedi and the Republic government, with the Jedi being seen as noble peacekeepers who could be called upon to resolve any crisis.